Man, what's happening, man? You got Marshawn, Beast Mode, Lynch,
Doug Hendrickson,
and Gavin Newsom, and you're listening to Politickin.
June on the beat. June on the beat.
Marshawn likes his nice jersey right there, Marshawn. How you doing? I just dusted that off today for you, Marshawn.
Nah, man, your little Homer Simpson 3 hairs at the top of your head. Bro, between them glasses and that little mohawk thing on the top of your shit.
Simpson. Ouch.
Yeah, if you got man, help
that
him out,
brutal.
man.
I've heard a lot of shit. That was next level brutal.
Well, Marshawn, here's the deal.
Fuck.
Like I told Marshawn that last night, Gavin, I said, here's the problem. If you take a tape measure from 1 to 100, the average life expectancy is 75. I'm 55. So we cut out 0 to 55 and then 75 to 100. So that gives me and you, Gavin, about 8 more good summers left.
Really?
That's it.
Really? 8?
So what we have to do is start traveling with Marshawn a little bit more to have a little bit more fun right now. You know what I'm saying?
Or we got to get some gel where you got to lick your and smooth that shit over a little bit. Gavin,
Wait a
get
second.
his hair right.
I got the gel. That's my specialty.
Right.
That's what I do best.
That's
Come
what
on,
I
Doug.
do.
Come on, man. By the way,
shit.
I also
His
heard
hair
where
looks good.
Doug said he was dusting off the jersey. You took that a little personally. I know, Marshawn.
I did.
It
You
suggests
heard
it was old, bro.
Yeah,
it was
man.
old.
You know what? I figured out I was old when my brother sent me a congratulations this morning for the Hall of Fame thing. And I just realized, like, you know, he's still playing. There's somebody who I was coaching up since he came out the womb. And to hear him say that, it was just like, ooh, yeah, you kind of up there, my boy.
By the way, guys, do you know this? Literally no BS. Just today, on my desk is a big brick. I'm like, what the hell is this brick? And a bunch of folks had signed it. Some of the guards and some of those incarcerated folks in Quentin, they just tore down that wall. Talk about tear down the wall that was built in 1860. Remember, you saw that temporary fence in Quentin? They literally just bulldozed that damn thing down. And there was a brick sitting on my desk again. But talk about bringing people.
Gavin, you can't be using that shit like it's your own fucking goddamn amusement park, man. You getting souvenir bricks and shit.
No, I know you in this. It's not my damn amusement. I know you're all freaked out. It's a damn amusement. Why is he so happy in prison? I'm trying to stay out of prison. No, man, the brick, but the brick, it represents what you're just saying. It was signed by some of the guards and some of the inmates. Right. And they sent it to me, man, because again, it's about people coming together. Speaking of that today, and just before we bring up Pete, I'm serious, Marshawn. This got to be interesting. You and Pete Carroll, have you guys had a lot of conversations over the course of the last couple of years? I mean, how many times you guys engaged?
Yeah, you got to remember, I went back and played for another season.
You played, I know.
I'll call it a season. If I played a game, it's a season. I don't know if I get accredited.
You played 3 games.
It was 4, I think. Was it 4?
No, it was the last game against the Niners, and then the playoff game, and then Green Bay.
Yeah, shit. Playoffs was involved, so shit. It felt like a season.
By the way, the only thing I remember about that, Doug, you remember it well too, is like Beastquake 2.0 when you came out. And ladies and gentlemen, they introduced the rest of the team, and then it was finally your turn. Music up, we're on the field. Next, Doug was like a kid. It's like, get ready, man. Doug was so nervous. Like, it's coming out. This is about to happen. And it was like, yeah, I mean, and I had never spent a lot. In fact, I don't think I'd ever been to that stadium in person. And Doug was like, man, it gets loud in here. I'm like, damn, that's another.
Well, the beauty of that game, Gavin, that was the only game where Sean didn't yell at me after the game.
Shut the fuck up.
That's a fact.
Bro, you know what? Hey, bro, you know what? You a prankster, my dude. You know what they call you, the younger kids in today's time right now? They would call you a troll.
You know what was very cool? I met Pete Carroll 5 or 6 times, but just hello, goodbye in passing. Doug, remember before the game, Pete came all the way to the other side to meet with us and spend time with us. And I'm like, this guy's just a little different. I mean, you know, we can talk about that, but just as a personal guy, for him to take that time to come over and obviously we're BSing about Marshawn behind Marshawn's back as we are right now.
Here we go.
But
oh shit. See, look, that's y'all That's your Marin connection. Cause you ain't y'all from the same hood though, right?
Yeah, San Francisco Marin connection.
Oh, my bad.
That's how we roll. Redwood High School, bro.
My
Redwood
bad.
High School. That's why Pete has been so successful in his life.
Oh, he got that. It's in you, not on y'all, huh? That's what it
it's
is.
in us. It just there's something about those public school kids.
I'm gonna tell you this. I was in Seattle for what, maybe 8-9 years, and I'm talking about every single day. This motherfucker Pete would come in with the same energy, win, lose, draw, rain, sleet, snow. I don't give a fuck what it was. He came in every day the same exact person, regardless. And that shit used to drive me fucking crazy. Because I used to ask him, that motherfucker all the time, hey, bro, what kind of drugs is you on, bro? Because I need some of that shit. Because the way you come in, and it was never negative. Never negative.
Never negative.
Until he pulled your ass in that room, and then he started gassing you. Then we got to throw these hands. But he was never, you couldn't catch this dude in a bad mood. Ever.
Well, should we bring him in, Marshawn?
Let's bring him in. Let's bring in Mr. Positivity himself.
Mr. Positivity.
Yeah, Pete Carroll.
Marshawn and Gavin, we have an incredible episode of Politickin today, straight from Marin County.
That's right, Marin. Redwood High School.
College of Marin.
That's right.
One of only 3 coaches, Gavin, to win a national championship, 2 of them, and a Super Bowl. Former head coach of the Jets, the Patriots, and, of course, the Seattle Seahawks. Coached 13 years with Seattle. Eligible for the Hall of Fame this year, the legendary Pete Carroll. Thanks for joining us, Pete.
What's up, Doug? We got a lot of Bay Area going on right now.
But by the way, which one of you two, I'm curious, which one of you two are getting in the Hall of Fame first? Marshawn or Coach?
I heard him just say that his favorite color was gold, so maybe he might be.
Oh, you remember that, huh?
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
By the way, Coach, I don't know if you heard, Marshawn just going completely crazy about all your positivity. It doesn't matter what happened. Every damn day in every way, you're all bringing that positivity. It drove Marshawn completely crazy.
I know. I know he couldn't stand it. I love seeing him up in the corner of the room. He always sat in the way back, kind of making a little statement. Last guy in the room and all that kind of stuff. And I know it just pissed him off because he thought I was trying to make him have fun and be positive too. I didn't care about him. He was fine. He was all those other guys.
Hey, Coach, well, before we begin, Coach, did you ever think in a million years you would be doing a podcast with Marshawn?
I thought he may be following me around. Here I'm following him around. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Something's wrong.
Hey, man, I've been told you a long time ago, man. I envy you, man. I do not understand. Y'all, I don't think y'all get it. Like, it'll be probably like on a Thursday. We got practice on Friday morning. And I'll be lit as fuck. I'm talking about I'm lit as fuck. I come into the facility like shit, maybe 4:30 because I ain't want to be late. And I just go in the locker room and go to sleep in one of the little big recliner chairs or something. And like clockwork, around 5:30 or something, here come Pete walking in that goddamn room with the same energy he just left the last day, bouncing around and shit. Hey, how you going? Chewing hella bubblegum shit. And I'm like, bruh, how the fuck is you? Bruh, you ain't even brush your teeth yet. You happy than a motherfucker. Like, God damn. How you do that, bruh? You know what? I'm about to go back to sleep for a minute.
It's all about attitude. You got a good one or you don't.
Man, you know what?
And that doesn't everybody has to be the same, obviously. But there's a lot of guys that they kind of used it a little bit. I was their attitude, so that's okay.
Coach, did you have that your whole life growing up? Because obviously, ever since I knew you back in the day when you were coaching the Jets, did you have that growing up as a kid, Stu Marin? Were you always that guy that was upbeat energy and bringing everybody together and attitude and that kind of stuff?
My mom taught me that something good is just about to happen, and I've never lost sight of that. And and somehow they empowered me to you get to do what you want to do and have the attitude you want to have. But it was always about something was just around the corner was going to turn. So why would you be thinking glum and down and out? And, because it was going to get good. And so, I've been like that my whole life, I'm sure.
Coach, I'm still trying to recover from Marshawn saying he came in lit. I mean, I'm trying to translate that exactly, like lit up. Or, was it something else?
I
was lit up.
Yeah,
I was lit up like a motherfucker. I'll tell you that. Lit up like a Christmas tree.
The point was, to me, my guys were all different, and I want to give them space to be what they needed to be. He needed to be and make his statement of what he was all about, and I loved it. I mean, I told him just recently that it was so important for me to get him to come to our team because I wanted him to affect everybody on the team. And I didn't care about him affecting it the way I wanted him to affect it. I wanted him to affect the way he was going to affect it. And I just figured we'd work it out, and we would figure out a way to make it all fit and all. And, and we did. And he's still pissed because he didn't figure out. I didn't care that he was like you. I loved that he was like he was. And I thought the more he was, the better it was for us. And I could put up with him. I was okay, And if you heard him say he wasn't going to get fined, he knew where that line was drawn. It was about the cash, and he was not going to give up his money. So he stayed close enough to it, so it worked out just fine.
Hey, Coach, take me through. I think it was your second year there, right? When I was talking to you and John about trading for Marshawn when stuff was going.
That was
Buffalo.
The first year.
Was that year one? Yeah, year one. And we're talking about the trade, and at the time the Packers want him, and you guys want him, and we're going back and forth. Take me through how that trade changed kind of the tenor and the identity of Seattle, and really put you guys on the map as far as what you built there. Correct?
Yeah, well, really, this is how this worked. I knew that I'd missed Marshawn in recruiting, and we had plenty of guys, but I missed him. And then we played against him, and I knew who he was, and knew about all this stuff. I knew him a lot better after the recruiting than before, and so I already had this kind of notion of what he would be like. And he's up there in Buffalo, and he's kind of in trouble, and he's kind of pissing and moaning, and ain't working out right.
Kind of.
Yeah, and
definitely in trouble.
Yeah. So we tried to trade from, if you remember, Doug, it was for months. It really took us 3 months to get them to say that they would trade him to us. I don't know what else they were, I don't know what the Packers or nothing else, but we kicked in another 5 or something for them. And they were hard on us. They didn't want to trade him, but they knew that they kind of needed to. And to me, I was trying to get it. It was so important to me. There was nobody, I never pursued anybody like that. It was so important because I wanted his attitude and his makeup on our team, because we were a down and out club at the time. We hadn't done anything, in the years before I got there, and it was time to see if we could turn it. And he was such a big personality that I thought we could really build around. And I don't think many people thought of Marshawn that way back in the day. I don't know. Maybe there was others. I don't think so.
No, because you got to remember at that point in time, motherfuckers had counted me out. A lot of motherfuckers had counted me out. So that's one of them situations where you get in a position and you say, like, somebody else sees something in you that you don't see in yourself. Now, not that I was involved or, I let, all the outside, consume my thoughts or my personality or whatever. But at that point, considering in Buffalo, I'm not playing. I'm coming off the bench, or I'm suited and I'm not playing, or I'm just in regular street clothes on the sideline. So
can't even imagine.
To go from being on the sideline in street clothes, to the Beastquake, that's some belief in a motherfucker though. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I definitely had conviction for you now, and I can't even tell you why it was so obvious to me, because nobody else saw it. John and the guys in the building didn't see it the same way, but that's why I kept fighting for it, and finally it just, I bugged him enough. I said, hey, let's call him again. Really, I went down to that office a number of times, and he had to call again because I was making him call again, and finally something happened, and it was, I took a shot that you might be able to bounce back in a big way, because it wasn't working out. And I knew I could help you work it out. I knew we could fit it together so that it would make sense. And no, I didn't, I can't tell you, I knew how crazy it was going to be, but look, the rest of history is history, and so It was really the most important move that we made in making the statement of the kind of team we wanted to be and the kind of personalities we wanted to jump around and play with, and it really was huge.
So, Coach, it's interesting. I mean, you were talking about just letting players be themselves and personalities take shape. Of course, you're not only, it sounds like with Marshawn, you weren't just looking for the athletic talent, you're also looking for the attitude. You're looking for someone that can express himself at another level. Is that something, I mean, you spending all those years in USC, working your way up, obviously multiple teams, and then Seattle, was that something that came to you instinctually as a coach early on, or you developed that over time and then found that, specific at this time with these personalities, that can really gel and express itself?
Interestingly, the first year I was coaching the DBs back at the University of the Pacific, and a million years before, wow. I got in trouble for having a meeting one time with the players and asking what they needed to work on. And we had a great meeting. Everybody had ideas and suggestions, and these we were lousy. It sucked as a team, but we had a great meeting. And I came running back from the night meeting during camp and ran into the head coach, Chester Caddis, and told him, "Hey, coach, I just had the best meeting. I can't believe how energized it was. These guys were so fired up." And I asked, I was asking the guys, what they needed to work on. And he stopped me, cut me, and said, "Don't you ever," in this big Southern Kentucky drawl, "don't you ever, ask the players what they want. You tell them, you're the coach." So I said, okay. So I was crushed because I thought I'd really done something good. And by the time I got to the next day, I was doing everything that we said we were going to do. I was the coach, and it worked out great, and he never knew it and all that. But the point was that
he never knew it.
The point was that connecting with people and going to where they feel good about themselves is a place of destination, man, that can make a difference. And whether it's one guy or it's many people, a whole football team, a whole group of people, when they feel your commitment to them and they know that you care about what they're doing, and that I've always been that way. Is what I'm saying. And that was all the way back to my second year in coaching. So. It's always been part of it. And the part that always gets lost, and I can even tell right now, Gavin, you're thinking, okay, this loosey-goosey, and here's all these guys running all different directions. And all. You can't play football like that.
No.
You've got to have discipline. You've got to have a consistency to it. You've got to have, rules and guidelines and things to keep people in order. But that doesn't mean that you can't recognize the extraordinary uniqueness of the individuals. And when you do, and then you open up to that and you receive them there, like Marshawn was a recipient. He fought me anyway. I was the best guy you could ever possibly be with. He fought me anyway, just because he was so contrary. But that was great. That was him. And it can work, Now, it's not, most people don't do it that way now because it's harder. It's more difficult because you're dealing with the individual, the changes, the uniqueness of the personalities, and and they can mix it. I mean, Sean can tell you we had troubles with some guys in our club, and throughout, but we were able to find the way to keep them connected for the purpose of being a great team, and they did it, and we showed that we could do that.
So I want to ask you something. Like,
go
with all of that being said, though, right? And if I remember correctly, you have a degree in psychology, right?
Well, it's sports psychology, yeah.
So
yeah.
how much of that do you think played a role in your philosophy in football and your development of teams and players? Because when I first had got there, I think it was a crazy fucking number of 270 plus players that you hadn't brought, in and out of the facility to create the exact team that you wanted.
Right.
So how much do you think your background in what you got a degree in sports psychology?
Well, it was in physical education with emphasis in sports psychology. Yeah, I had a ton of stuff that I did in those days. I'm glad you asked the question because I really was affected by stuff I learned right then and there. And I was able to, because of being so close to the Bay Area, there was a couple great guys that were that had written stuff on their own, done their own stuff. The guy, Tim Galway, wrote the Inner Game of Tennis, and Michael Murphy was the guy who wrote about golf, and he did some amazing things in his own studies. He was the guy that started Ethelyn, the institute down on the coast.
Yep.
Those two guys in particular not only did we get to read their books, but we got to meet them and be with them and hang out with them, and develop the friendship, the relationship with them. And I was affected so much by the way they thought and the way that they presented their stuff. And they were totally different. They weren't the same. But both those guys still, to this very day, I still preach right from the gospel of what those guys believed in. And they were really something about performance and about they both were highly influenced by Eastern philosophy in their young days when they went and did their mission over in India and wherever they went. They came back and they had a slant to it that made sense to me that I've never lost contact with. And it's really about helping people perform totally in trusting themselves and totally in command of their moments and their times and creating the moments and the mindfulness that it takes to really be at your best. And so throughout all, I've never talked about those guys. I would never mention those guys to you as a team, but I was working from that mentality of helping people get to the very best of what they had to offer. And that's why it was so important to champion the individuals and to find the place where each player could be at his best and what he needed to be at his best. That's why I could have Marshawn and I could have Richard and I could have Doug Baldwin and Cam and all the different guys that were the personalities. They were all able to find their own space and be comfortable with it. But yet I was there to kick their ass to make them great at what they were capable of doing too. And so all of that blended together, Sean. So yeah, it goes way back, and it never left me. And I wrote about it in the book I did, 10 years, 15 years ago, whatever it was. All that stuff was all part of my makeup that I never lost. And it was really the cool part about it. And Marshawn was one of the best at it. He just needed to be in his own space. He didn't want anybody to fuck with him in any way. He didn't want anybody to, try to get him this way or get him that way. Just leave me alone. And if you watched him after he made touchdowns, he wouldn't celebrate, other than grabbing his nuts on the big run.
Talk about that.
You probably needed a PhD, after the Super Bowl loss with the player. I mean, take me through that time after the game, because obviously, I mean, that wasn't just one day, 1 week. That was months and months. And I mean, take me through your mindset after that game with how do you, I mean, that had to be, take me through your mindset. That'd be very, very tough. I can't even imagine being in your shoes.
Yeah, because motherfucker tried to whoop your ass after that game.
Yeah. Let me back you up a bit. If you remember when I was at SC, we played Texas and we were in the Rose Bowl and we get down to like 17 seconds left or something like that, 4th and 7, 19 seconds left, 4th and 7 from the 7-yard line. If we'd have won that game, if we'd have stopped the dude right there, we'd have won the 3rd straight national championship. That hadn't been done before. And we were right at the precipice of doing everything. We had won every game for years up until that point right there. And bang, he scrambles. The running back screwed up the protection. We send double B and he releases instead of blocks the backer like he's supposed to. So we lose Frosty Rucker and contain. I mean, it's all football stuff. And the guy scrambles in the end zone. And so we go in the locker room, minutes later, I'm talking to this team. We were on the verge of, something absolutely historic. And my thought was that those 17 seconds or 19 seconds weren't going to define us. We were what we were. And I carried that thought to the moment that stupid freaking play happened in that game where they get the pick and to change the whole game. In the instant that I bent down to think about, I knew it was going to, I would have to be ready for moments like this in these years of coaching. This is that moment. And you're going to have to be a stud. And I was going to have to, handle it. And because I was going to stand up for everybody. And they're all going to be pissed, just like you were, the whole world. And Marshawn and I have talked about this in the past. That was a meaningful moment. And we lost all that. That would have been 2 in a row. We might have come back and won 3 in a row, is the way I feel about it. But and so anyway, it was huge. But you had to deal with it, and you had to deal with it. And I had to be the leader, and I had to stand up for it and take the hit, and just okay, take it as my call and the whole thing. And I was willing to do that for everybody else. And I mean, he was pissed at me, and the fellas were pissed. Everybody.
The thing was, with that being said, a lot of players from that team don't feel that. Considering your philosophy and what you stood for and what you got a lot of those guys to believe in, they don't feel that, you owned it from a perspective of which they would have liked you to own it, because then it started to get rough over there.
Well,
it started to get rough. It got really rough for us though, and to a point where it was like, You know what I mean? And the way I think about it is like considering like everybody like, oh, you should have just ran the ball with Marshawn, you know, this, that, and the third. But, you know, considering, you know, and the type of player I am, and, you know, shit, from what you just said to, you know, any teammate of mine will tell you like, no, Marshawn for sure is a team player. In which, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, I know a lot of guys took that shit a lot
Sure.
harder even than I did because of what you instilled in, you know what I mean, that Seahawk team. So when I start thinking about it and I think about your mindset and, you know, the psychology of, you know, of people, but then, you know, putting it into a term of ball players and then having this moment of of I'm gonna say for us was like was failure, and then not for it to be, you know what I mean, something that affected us personally because, you know what I mean, we felt like we was on that type of time.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them felt like, you know, we were stripped of it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I felt the same way. There's nobody is a better competitor than I am about the whole thing. I would have done anything in my power to change the moment, but the moment just happened so quickly that it was gone. It was gone before it even happened, and I wish I would have been able to affect it differently, but I didn't. I couldn't. You know, it had nothing to do with all of the storylines. Marshawn and I have talked about it. It had nothing to do with all the storylines about some other players or some other agenda. There was not. That's not how the game works. It happened so fast. They substitute, we do this, bump calls made. It just happened, and we got smacked in the freaking nuts by it. But you know, it's interesting you guys got us on this talk together because nobody had to deal with this more than Marshawn and myself. I mean, nobody had to ever deal with that, and we carried our whole life, and it's just something that it's affected us both in different ways and all that. But hey, man, it's part of our life, and that's we had to deal with it, and we had to get on, and we have, and he's kicking ass, and I'm retired.
Hey, Coach, well, as a non-football guy, I don't know
Yeah,
and
not
I don't think I've ever asked Marshawn. Was the call from Bevel, or was you made the call, or how did that? Who made the call
We
on
did
that
the way we
particular
always
play?
did. We did the way we always did. Okay, and it was there's defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators. They call the stuff, and we play the game, and I'm responsible for every call that was ever made. That's all.
Well, Doug, if you didn't catch that, Bevel made the motherfucking call, and Pete didn't get to it quick enough to get out of that motherfucker. That's how what he just told you in a nutshell. You know what I'm talking about? But I mean, look, with that being said, like, you know what I mean? Because me and you, we had a conversation when we talked yesterday, and was just talking about how you know, how it affected my life. And, you know, after that moment, you know, I was telling you like I was having a conversation with some ex-players, and, you know, like, oh, you know, if you get that if they give you the ball again, you go in, you score, you get the MVP of the Super Bowl. And, you know what I mean, it is what it is. And I was like, the fact that that didn't happen, it's almost to the point where it was like you know, like that one guy in a movie that everybody rooting for that just quite he just don't make it. And now I'm living a life of that guy, but I'm actually here to experience what it would be for an individual to, you know what I mean, live life after, you know what I mean, all that after that downfall. And I mean, you know, and in reality it's been, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, by the graces of God is
yeah,
like, you mean, he bless you in so many ways, and it's more so like by me not, you know what I mean, getting that ball or us not running that ball in, I feel like it made a stain on the world to where no matter what the situation is, that particular play is always going to be talked about. And the fact of the matter is, like, you know, Tom Brady I mean, he win another Super Bowl, Malcolm Butler go and, you know, become the MVP of the game, you know what I mean? But no matter what you talk about that Super Bowl, it always just come down to the fact like, oh, they didn't give oh boy the ball, Marshawn the ball, and they lost. Like, oh my God, like that shit turned my life in a way that I could never imagine, because I asked those guys the same thing. I said, well, who won the Super Bowl MVP the year before? And they're like, oh, Russell Wilson won. Like, nah, Russell Wilson didn't win it.
Right.
Like, oh, Percy Harvin got MVP. No, Percy Harvin didn't. And it's like Malcolm Smith did. And oh yeah, I was gonna say Malcolm, but you know what I mean? You asked who didn't win the Super Bowl and the next year, and Marshawn, they should have gave him. And it's like, you know what I mean? That Doug, you like to use it, posterized. It boosted my life and my career to a level of, you know what I mean, something that I could not have, you know what I mean, understood or even imagined that my life could be.
Yeah, it's an amazing perception that you have of that, and it's the truth. You're just talking the truth. That's what happened. It's good that something good came from it. You know what I mean? After all, that sounds like me, doesn't it? Like something good came out of that, the crap that we had to go through and live with, and they ain't going away. And that's I knew in that moment it ain't going away. We're gonna have this forever. Sean, it's a statement about how, regardless of what happens in your life, we still have the ability to make of it what we want, and it's no matter how dark it gets or how horrible a situation or the hugest mistake you could ever have made or whatever, it's still there's a life to follow it. And if you hang in there and you keep battling, I mean, it's just a basic old story of it. But both of us, man, wherever I go now as a retired guy, I mean, people freaking pouring over me to get to me, to get a picture, an autograph, or whatever. They don't talk about the Super Bowl. They don't mention that. They're I don't know. I get so much love that I couldn't ask for more. I'm shocked by it, and I had no idea.
It's the exact opposite for me. So in a sense, it really showed me like how much, you know what I mean, the world and people really, you know what I mean, fuck with me from a respect level. And I really like, I appreciate that shit to the max. Like, you know what I mean? Because before that, like, you know what I mean, considering like when I first got there and motherfuckers had counted me out, you know what I mean? Oh, he washed up, he done, you know what I mean? Stick a fork in him.
Perfect.
It's over with. He a thug, he this, he that, blah, blah, blah. But then to see on the on my way out, and the reality to that shit is like, nah, people really fuck with me on some like, nah, we really fuck with you, Sean. Like, we really wish we would have been able to see you do that. And since, we wasn't able to, like, even though it didn't happen, we feel that it did, and we gonna show you the love and the respect as if it did happen. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, I really fuck with the people for really fucking with me on some, you know what I mean, on some real, like, to me, because that's some real shit. Like, if you give me 4 opportunities down there for sure, just my stubborn, like, I'm hella stubborn. Like, you ain't finna just not allow me to get up in this motherfucker now. At the end of the day, shit happened. You know what I mean? I done fumbled. You know what I mean? Done got tackled for a loss. All the type of shit that happened. But if you look at the situation and see how many times I go forward, then I went backwards, we gonna take that. We gonna take that opportunity. We gonna give you that chance. So, I mean, as much as I could look at it,
I wish it would have happened.
Look, as much as I could look at it and be upset, this, that, and the third, you know what I mean? My biggest thing is whenever somebody say that to me, and I'm pretty sure, like, anytime I step outside on a day-to-day base, like, at least once somebody, mention that to me, about that play.
Yeah.
And it's just get to the point where it's like, you say, what's that, big dog?
No, it's just it's your life. You know what, it's going to keep coming. That's not going to change, and it's love. Really, they're showing you the love, and they feel for you.
Yeah, man. So I respect that. So just know that if you come up to me and you say something though, and I'm not the most, receiving or outspoken or what you call approachable or friendly or whatever, but just know that I really do appreciate that shit, and I do have a lot of love and respect, and the love is bulletproof. When you show me love and respect on a sense that you can appreciate, the body of work that I put in. So I just want to tell everybody I appreciate you for that, my boy.
Hey, Doug, the only two, it sounds like Coach and Marshawn have moved on and different, and they've translated this differently. Of course, you and I haven't. We're still raw about this damn thing. But that's a different conversation. By the way, I feel like I'm listening to the Stoics. This is like Marcus Aurelius talking about the obstacle is the way. It's not what happens to you, it's what we do with what happens that determine our fate and future. But I love this notion that you guys have translated it in different ways, but ultimately recognizing that these are moments in our life. And at the same time, let's be honest, we've all had those moments. I think about political terms, what about the emails? And it is something that ultimately you can't completely dismiss. And Coach, I imagine, despite the fact that, it's got to still, it's hard to fully recover from those decisions. But I love that you had this experience before. So are you exaggerating when you say when you were leaning over that you literally had that memory of that Rose Bowl game in your mind, literally going through in real time?
It was the moment of realization that this is the job I got. This is what I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm going to have to deal with this from now on. And so, I thought, before I even raised back up, the thought was, I want to do it and be the epitome of how you can handle stuff like this and put it in the right spot. But meanwhile, it's going to be just hell. And it's been like that. If you compete like we do, I don't ever get over that stuff. I don't put it away. I don't get over it at all. I carry it right to this very moment. I would do anything to change that moment, but I don't get to, so I got to deal with it. So how am I going to deal with it?
I got a way you could get over it.
What do you got?
Me and you in the phone booth for 30 seconds, and we just go straight all body shots and just, you know what I mean?
This was going so well.
Oh, man, it was for a minute. Like, man, I wanted to put so many hands and feet on you. But you know what? Because I respect my elders, and I know you like 94, right?
Oh,
90 something. Right. 90 something.
So, man, I can't go out, you know what I mean?
Hey, Coach, but what I appreciate, Coach, and I'll the story, Gavin. But after the game, Pete was incredible because he recognized that we're going through some contract talks. Remember, Coach, you immediately say, "Hey, listen, we gotta get him done." And normally, timing wise, this would be probably some point in summer. And you recognized it was important to kind of get him redone, and you engaged with Paul Allen, and we got together. Remember in your office or Paul's office. And we got him done, probably a month after the Super Bowl, which I think was an important part. And you led that charge, Coach. I appreciate that.
Remember, we went back to the playoffs the next year too. We made it through the garbage of it all. And like Marshawn and I both agree, if we'd have won that game, we probably would have won the next game too. I think we would have. It would have been totally, obviously, a different circumstance.
I think the league agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us knew that. There was just that time that we could have captured, But anyway, so those were just the gestures, showing the faith and the love. I mean, Marshawn can't do anything. Matter of fact, let me tell you one more story. When Marshawn comes back, he comes back to us after being out and about for a couple of years. The first thing, he comes walking down the hall to my office, and he starts apologizing. Whatever you were doing, you felt bad about whatever you had. I said, no. You don't have to say nothing. You don't have to say a word. I know where your heart is. I know where we are. I got no problem. And I'm not gonna not love you no matter what happens. It doesn't. No matter what was said or what's done. I know in the long run of it all, we're all going to be connected and back together again. And so, it was such a cool gesture that you wanted to try to clear the air or whatever, but you didn't need to. I didn't need it. I didn't need to hear that. I knew.
Yeah, because I think before that time, I think I was on some shit like, hey, if I see you, bro, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
No, you aren't. No, you aren't. You may say you are, but you got to realize I ain't going down now. You're not going to knock me down.
So when I'm coming in the office and I'm coming for a job, like, hey, I don't want, like, if I know he think I'm finna come and swing on him, he probably gonna be a little, like
this job right here could take some hit now. Like,
I told you got that Stewie jaw right now, my boy.
By the way, Coach, I don't know if you know this. I'm responsible for getting Marshawn to the hotel right after the game, and he was completely docile, completely calm, sitting in the front seat, turned on the music, had a drink. I don't know what the hell, some whiskey or something.
Nah, that was some pure white Hennessy.
Whatever the hell it was. Yeah. And he had the window
I had
down.
My blunt.
And you guys weren't, I don't even know if you were off the damn field. And he calmly says, let's get the hell out of here, Batman. So we're driving through in the parking lot. People are just starting, a couple people leaving the game. Most people weren't even leaving the game. And he's just casually, calmly listening to music I'm sitting there back of the car with Doug going, man, Marshawn is taking this very responsibly and respectfully. I appreciate his maturity. And now I'm hearing he wanted to beat the shit out of you and he was going to come get your ass. I mean, you've shattered everything, Marshawn. Shattered it.
Oh man, well look, I mean,
he's always stretching a little bit now.
Jesus Christ.
Oh hell no.
He was in shock though, Coach. He was flat out in shock because we got out of the car and he wanted to beat the shit out of me. I'm like, I'm just the driver, bro. I'm the other guy got you home.
Because let me ask you a question. And as 30 years of an agent, those 6, 7, 8 years in Seattle, it was iconic. It was rock star status. The town was crazy. I mean, everything about it. And you were blessed, Coach, to have 2 teams like that. USC for those years was the same way. I mean, how do you compare the two? Because literally, I don't know if another coach had both sides like you did, other than, Barry Switzer at Oklahoma and the Cowboys, obviously, but and maybe Jimmy Johnson, Miami. But you had literally 2 Beatles, Rolling Stones of teams. How do you compare the two and the environments in LA and Seattle and all that stuff? I'm curious.
Yeah, there's nothing that compares to the SD thing in this regard. We won every game for 3 years straight. I mean, think about that. I mean, we won 30-something games in a row and went all the way to that Texas game. And had we won that one, what would have happened? So there was a golden time there. Back to gold. A golden time there that was just extraordinary. And I felt like, I had arrived at my calling and coaching. My life had already happened. I mean, that couldn't be any better than that. But I did feel the challenge because of the competitiveness, the challenge to go to the NFL and take the mentality of taking care of people and loving people up and helping them, be the best they could be. I wanted to see if it would happen in the NFL. Because I had become an NFL guy after all the years I'd been in there. And so I liked that challenge as the ultimate challenge. And so we we get our run going and we're rolling but let me say this, there's never enough wins. There's never enough wins. And it's that's what I'm saying, 34 in a row or whatever. Okay, there should have been 35, and then there's never enough. And so it keeps you coming back, but yet it also kicks your ass, and so in Seattle, we don't win every game. We won over 10 games a year for 14 years or something, whatever it was, but it still wasn't enough, and so that stretch in LA was, and the things that we were doing in the city and all of the stuff that was happening and all the glorious moments that we had, Macaulay and all that stuff. That was just the top of the top. And I went to try to do it again. I wanted to try to do that in Seattle too, but you can't win every game in the NFL. It just doesn't happen, So there's just never enough wins.
Was there more pressure at USC or Seattle, in your opinion, knowing it was at USC?
I didn't deal with that. The pressure thing, I didn't deal with that really. I mean, I didn't even thought of it that way. I just, ball coaching was not that. I was a mercenary. I was fighting somebody else's wars, and going for it and taking it as far as we could with the highest of expectations. And I really didn't. It wasn't the pressure. It was hard work, to keep everybody together and to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody was loving what we were doing. And I mean it was a challenge and all that, but it wasn't about the pressure. I don't see it that way.
Coach, despite, you're suggesting the lack of pressure, which is remarkable, that mindset. I mean, you've been doing this a couple decades coaching. Now you're walking the campus at USC again, teaching, not coaching. I mean, it is next level decompression, still processing, or are you just able to have that mindset, whatever I'm doing, that's my focus, what's my energy flows.
No, I'm competing to make this a great freaking year now. It's already been a great summer. Yeah, but I am. I mean, that's just frankly how I'm doing. I'm not doing anything different at all in that regard. The springtime I'll be, at the SD thing, but there's other stuff going on. We're doing other things and I'm really excited about. It's just different, and my mentality is so much different because all of the little nitpick and stuff that you got to be involved with when on the team, when you're a coach, players and all of it, that's been set aside now. And so my mind is clearer and I'm freer to take it where I want to go. And I love that sense.
Coach, what class are you teaching over there?
Well, I'm going to be teaching a class with a guy named Varun Soni, who's the dean of religious studies on campus, and he's a freaking rock star.
Wow.
And he and I are going to do this thing together, and it's going to be probably through the business school, through Marshall. It'll be it's going to be very close to my heart. Let me just say that. I don't give away the title of what we're doing yet, but it's going to be very close to my heart and the stuff that I believe in, and mixing it with what Vera knows, that he is an extraordinary instructor in all of ancient religions and all the kind of cool things, spirituality, and so many things that he's going to connect with us. It's going to be really something, I think. So we're all really excited about it.
Well, we have Marshawn with the Cal degree and the Princeton degree, Coach. He might be a guest lecture a few times
Princeton,
with you.
I never heard
Yeah, no, and no one.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly, Coach. Don't buy any of that BS. No. Then again, he's got a damn certificate.
BS? No, that shit is for real, for real.
3.2.
You ain't see the degree hanging on my goddamn on my wall.
He does have evidence.
All I heard was about 3.2. It was 3.2.
3.2.
We do a special thing on the show, Code, where we ask the governor a question. So whatever question you want to ask the governor, Coach, it balls in your court.
Man, I got so many questions for you.
Why did I sign the NIL? By the way, first state to sign the NIL. We can have that conversation.
Oh, Lord. Hey, Gavin, that's a big mistake now. That's a huge mistake now. Yeah, I'm not even asking you about that, but that's a huge error that we should work to correct.
Do you? I mean, no BS. Are you really? I mean, are you that concerned about it, that it's gone out of control?
Absolutely. Think about it. Well, okay, you want to go there for a second? Think about those poor kids and those families and those moms and dads that are figuring out, how can I make money on my kid when he's a sophomore in high school and he's going to be a star? And they're thinking about stuff like that instead of letting the kid go to school and be an athlete. What are you talking about? You know, and attorneys and lawyers and reps and agents like Doug that are representing those high school kids. You know, what is that all about? Who thought that was a good idea? It was. I mean, I can talk about it forever, but it should be changed. If you want to do something good, fix that.
Fix that. I don't disagree, and I have strong opinions about the transfer portal and what's happened with that as well. Though you don't think that's. I mean,
it's a mess.
But it's interesting. But look, with all the money in college sports, particularly at programs like USC and others, but I mean, the fact that some of these players, I mean, the vast majority, overwhelming majority, are never going to play in the NFL. They never become Marshawn Lynch. I mean, did you ever think about, at least, should there be some framework, even if it's not NIL as we know it?
What are you worried about? Well, no, what are you worried about? You're worried about these kids getting compensated because other people are making money on them? They're getting an education. They get a Pell Grant. They got money in their pocket. This is the time of their life. They don't need that element of professionalism to cloud what's going on. And also the mentality of the teams and the different aspects of how it works in the locker room, with some kids making $1 million and some kids not making anything. I mean, it's just a mess.
It take away from the actual game of football.
Where's the game?
In the way that you approach it. But from a standpoint of, you know what I mean, because, you know, a lot of those kids won't never, you know what I mean, reach a level of, you know what I mean, a Hall of Fame football player. So being able to capitalize in those moments, I do believe that I don't think it's a bad idea in order to get these kids, you know what I mean, paid. But for the simple fact of all of the unnecessary outside shit that they have to go through in order to get that, and then the lack of education that you're going to put $1 million in the pocket of a 18-year-old with somebody who looking at them as just a ATM or just a way to, you know what I mean, capitalize and make some money off of them. It put them in a tough ass position before they become, you know what I mean, mindful of what's really going on and the responsibilities of what it actually means to have this type of Cholula in your bank account. To me, it's a plus and a minus. Yeah. And I think that you know what I mean, with great success come with great responsibilities. And a lot of these individuals who, you know what I mean, don't even know what it is to be successful for, you put them in a position of where, you know what I mean, you give them the bread before they actually know what it feels like to actually know how to rock with the money.
Well, Coach, one of the problems last year, I had a player I signed, and I'm not going to name the player of the school, but this player got like $500,000. Okay. And he came to me before the draft. He said, "Hey man, when are taxes due?" I said, "Well, they're due in April." And I said, "Well, how much do you have left from your NIL?" He said, "Nothing." I said, "What do you mean nothing?" He said, "I spent it all." I said, well, you got to pay, at least $275 to Uncle Sam. And so now in his case, he went to the NFL and he was able to get the money. The problem is these schools are not educating the kids. And so let's say this kid didn't make the NFL. Well, Uncle Sam's not going to go away. They're going to find him somewhere and say, you owe us $250. So now the guy's life is started with basically in the hole, $250,000.
Yeah, this is a parents' game. This whole thing is about the parents or whoever is mentoring the kids. They're the ones getting the money. They're the ones that they're going to put it where they're supposed to put it. They're not going to. The kids aren't going to. They're only going to screw it up. They don't have a chance to be prepared to do that. Why would we? What's the rush? What's the rush? And if they want to up the Pell Grant, they want to up the general money that every kid gets $5,000, $10,000 a year or something like that. Great, but give it to everybody and let them all be just players and play in the program and deal with those is enough. It just doesn't make sense. It's not right. The thing I don't like about it is the parents are taking the money.
But if you're willing to put that much money into the hands of the student, then you should be willing to put, as equal amount of money into, the education that these kids need. So then when they actually do get to the league, you have less of a situation where it's almost the high ass percentage of 80% of all professional athletes go bankrupt type situation. But if you start them with the education as early as college, knowing that they're gonna come into some money, the mindset is different because now you're thinking in terms of, okay, how do I actually spend money? Now I know I could go out and I can fucking go blow a bag on whatever it is I want, but how do I spend money the right way in order to make sure that in the long run, I'm still going to be able to take care of everything that I need to take care of right now? Because at the end of the day, like you said, those problems don't go away. The thing is with,
they don't go away.
I think Big said it the best one.
That's right.
More money, more problems. But the thing is, a lot of individuals don't see when we come into money, we don't come into money with education of how to spend the fucking bread. Considering, when you think about, on the other side where you look at white people who come under trust funds and, fall into the family business, they're taught this shit from a jit age of how this whole system of how the money situation worked. And then it's okay, so they understand that. But then on our end, it's just like a overnight type of situation. 1 minute you got top ramen in the motherfucking cabinet I could go and eat at fucking Benihana's, and it's that's your life. And the thing is, if you don't properly take care of your situation, you put yourself in a motherfucking position to go back to eating top ramen or worse. Then you can go ahead and contribute to the problem that we have in California. That's on some other shit, but it begins to, that cycle just continue to repeat itself. So like anything, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you get education on any situation that you're going into. So if you're going to put the motherfucking money into the kids' hands, then you need to go ahead and put the money into the motherfucking education of these kids at the same time, so they don't continue to make the same mistakes that the motherfuckers made before them.
No, by the way, as the guy that did the first NIL in the country, and of course it was inevitable, Coach.
Okay, Soldier Boy, I did it first.
Based on this conversation, I should run. Never, and I'll deny that. But I will say this. I completely, and Coach, I appreciate your conviction and your insight, and few people uniquely positioned to understand it better than you. But there's no question in my mind when we signed that this was not what was intended. The world that now is taking place is not what that legislation was originally about. So I could not agree more in the basis of this conversation. The imperative for the NC2A to immediately reconcile that and address this issue. They've got to move on this. In the absence of that, we're looking at state-by-state moves, but that's going to put states like California and other states at a competitive disadvantage. So it has to be done at the national level, and they need to move on it quickly because there's no doubt this was never what was intended.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I hope you can do it. I hope you can do it. Like Sean was saying, the education, that's what this whole thing was supposed to be about. You're a ball player, or you're a dancer, or you're a scholar. You get some help going to school so you can get your education. And we're forgetting about that. But there's work to be done.
Well, Coach, we can't thank you enough for joining us. I mean, I've always loved you and appreciated you and everything you've done in your career, and you're not done yet, obviously. And I appreciate how you've just lived your life, man. You've lived it a glass half full, and you've always lived life on borrowed time. And I really appreciate you and always have. And we can't thank you enough for joining us today.
And Doug, his glass has been
Politickin.
overflowing. Next level, first ballot Hall of Fame, the one and only Coach Carroll. Coach, appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for bringing the Bay Area back together with the guys here. It's pretty good.